So we're live here on the Instagram page, the SPYPOINT Instagram page. Our first Ask Me Anything with Josh Pretzer. Obviously, he's the host of our habitat series, Building Whitetails. So, Josh, let's jump into this right away. Let's kind of just set the tone for what we're going to do with these. Overall, this is going to be a kind of a short and sweet, live podcast. It'll be a live stream here on Instagram, but it'll also be a podcast that people can go back and listen to and learn from. So, we're going to talk about, obviously, the Building Whitetails series. We're going to talk a little bit about that, what's going on in the whitetail woods right now for you, and kind of what you're talking about in those videos. And then we'll jump into, obviously, the questions. And I know everybody's got some good questions that they want to ask. We already have some already ready to go as well. So, first of all, just tell me a little bit about the Building Whitetail series and how that got started and how you became part of that.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't listened to the last SPYPOINT podcast, Brian Stevens and I went over a bunch of information, and highlighted that. We're going to cover that here, but if you guys haven't listened to the podcast, jump on over. But yeah, so I was doing some work with some other companies, just some odd jobs. I don't know, just, and Dusty, honestly, a lot of credit goes out to Dusty. He's become a really good friend of mine, and just kind of a chain of events. I can't take much credit for it, honestly. I said it in the podcast, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that don't get enough credit, enough recognition. So appreciate all those people behind SPYPOINT, yourself included.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think really what my question is, you have this passion, obviously, for whitetails and the habitat around that and building whitetails. That's kind of your passion. So, obviously coming into this and turning this into the series, how much say did you have on how you wanted to build this series out? Did you have a lot of ideas for this already in your head before we even started doing it?
Honestly, I was given a lot of free reign. It took us a little bit to kind of figure out what connected with people in the best way. But it kind of towards the middle of last summer, it felt like we really started to hit a groove. It was, like, and we knew there'd be a learning curve, but it felt like, this is what we really kind of want this to feel like. This is the trajectory.
Yeah.
We had kind of a vision of where we wanted to go. But it was, it was in stride. Got a great videographer. Aaron Morgan does a great job behind the scenes with that. So, and he's been immensely helpful. Dusty, Trent, just guys, brainstorming. And honestly, a lot of stuff, we had a plan, but a lot of the ideas came from people, just the feedback, hey man, can you elaborate on X, Y, and Z? And a lot of 2021 is being built around people's peaked interest in what I did in 2020.
Yeah. And I know that's a big reason why we want to do this Ask Me Anything. We want to get more ideas from the community, the people who are following along. We want to get their ideas, bring them in, and actually be able to reach them with the things that they want to learn about and the things that they want to improve on in the whitetail woods. So I think that's what's going to be so cool about watching this series grow as we move forward. So for anybody that doesn't know, though, you can go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/SPYPOINT. Be sure to subscribe, and you can watch all of the Building Whitetail series there and all the other SPYPOINT videos that we put out. We put out a lot of great content. We have a lot of great people behind the scenes working really hard. I'm a small part of that. I'm with the marketing team, Dusty, Trent. We have a lot of good people. There's a bunch of great people, and then having the producers and the guys like you who are actually doing the content. It's awesome. It's a dream, man. So good job on that.
It's a team effort. It's a team effort.
It absolutely is a team effort. Absolutely. So the last couple of videos that you did were about trapping, and then we kind of went into some habitat improvement stuff. I think a lot, just looking at on the marketing side, just looking at the numbers, those trapping videos did really, really well. I think that you really hit a spot there with your trapping information. Talk a little bit about those videos for those that haven't watched those videos, what they can, learn from those videos, and, kind of what's coming in the near future with the Building Whitetail series.
Yeah. So in regards to trappings, I just saw someone's comment that we should do a bobcat feature. The first, well, we did two episodes. We did one, what you need to do to get into trapping, and then one was a basic raccoon set and a basic predator set. Something I'd like to do later on in Building Whitetails is expound on that and get into more the strategic, specific animal sets. If this is, like someone just said, a bobcat, that's something I'd love to do. If someone's having a coyote problem, how can we dive in and really target coyotes or bobcats, like someone said? I'd love to do a snaring episode. This winter, I nerded out on snares and caught 13 I caught 13 coyotes in 4 days in snares. And that was, I've never caught that many in snares before. And so there was a huge learning curve. That's something I'd really like to do in the future, but I could talk about trapping for a ridiculous amount of time.
No, I know I learned a ton from those videos. I grew up trapping gophers. So, I knew a little bit about it, but learning how to trap coyotes and bobcats or whatever else it is. There was a lot of valuable information in those videos, and I think there's just so much more to learn about it too. That was just touching the surface, obviously. So it was cool to see that. Talk a little bit about your latest video, the habitat improvements. Expand on that a little bit.
Right. So we dove, I guess. So the last episode that we did was in regards to soil samples and getting ready for, the planting season to come.
Yep.
And then timber, that one's coming. And then the last one was timber stand improved.
Yep.
What did we do in 2020? How did it look through the year? And then, how do we hunt it, based off the results from 2020 in the season coming in 2021? Yeah. So. Yeah. Somebody just commented, I trapped 30 bobcats last year. Dude, well done.
Wow.
Respect.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, and if anybody hasn't watched any of these videos, again, go back to our YouTube channel, subscribe. A lot of great content there. You can go back. We're on, season 2 now, I believe, right? This is the start of season 2 that we're on now. So a lot of great videos, a lot of great information, and there's a lot more to come. I know these guys are working hard behind the scenes. So talk about what are you doing in the whitetail woods right now to kind of prep for your season? What are some of the things you're actually working on right now? And this might be what is coming in the videos, obviously, but talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, so I had a bunch of ag lime applied and some food plots to raise my pH levels. That's to come. Let's see, food plot design has been really heavy on my mind. That and shed hunting. Shed, starting to, I'm in Illinois right now, shed hunting with a good friend and done really well. That's been a lot of fun, a neat opportunity, but getting ready to head back home soon. And so I'm starting to really, I get back in focus of there at my house, and I've got another farm that we're going to kind of dive into. Cool. I've got some unique food plot structures in the way of manipulating deer travel to and observed. I shot goalposts in 2020 and learned that deer was a humbling deer. I learned so much from him and his habits. So I'm going to take what I learned from that, and I'm going to try to implement that and expound on what he did in 2021 to hopefully capture an opportunity at another one of my other mature deer on the farm, or one of my up and coming mature deer.
Do you have a lot of bucks on the hit list for this next year? Do you have a couple you're really keying in on?
So I try not to set my heart on a deer, because I've done that before and been heartbroken. Yeah. Either found him dead or somebody else got him, which I had one deer 2 years ago that was just an unbelievable animal, and he was 4 years old, and he got harvested by a neighbor, honestly, by a guy I have a lot of respect for. So it's just, I guess it was kind of a humbling check of, these are free ranging animals. These are animals that, just the experience and the opportunity to pursue them is it's a once in a lifetime experience, you know, for a lot of these deer. So I do have some hit listers. I've got one or two particularly kind of at the forefront that, you know, they'd be my biggest deer yet. So we'll see. If it happens, great. If not, that's okay.
Did you catch them on trail camera later in the season? You know they're still around, those bucks?
Yeah. I picked up one of their match sets of sheds.
Oh.
Got a lot of piles of pictures. I've got another shed off of one. And I had I guess the third one was still holding both sides when I left Kansas a couple days ago. So he's holding super, super late. I don't know if I'll find him. I kind of fingers crossed type deal.
Cool. Well, let's jump into some of these questions. We've got a bunch here, and then we'll.
Yes, Dusty, my wife is a better hunter than me. I know that.
Man, we've got quite the show here just in the comment section, man. This is good. We'll take a few questions from the comment section here in a little bit. Let's jump into a few of these questions that I had from around when I posted up earlier today. There's a lot of questions from around the internet from a lot of our followers. So one of the first questions that we had was, how many acres do you need to build it for whitetails? So like what, you know, how many do you need a lot of acres? Can you do this with a small amount of acres? Like, what's a good number there?
I can't put a number on it because you can I would rather have, and I'm stealing this term from someone else. I'm stealing this term. I'd rather have the right 10 acres than the right, you know, 1,000, or than the 1,000 acres. Yeah. So it really boils down to, don't look at number of acres, look at what acres you have and make it the best that you possibly can, because it doesn't take much for a mature deer to feel safe. If you've got a small tract of timber, and I met a young kid, he was probably 10 years old, at an outdoors show last weekend. This young guy had 8 trail cameras. He couldn't be more than 12. I think he was 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. He had 8 trail cameras. He had 10 acres. So immediately I fell in love with this kid. And he was running these cameras on his bicycle, and he showed me a picture of a legit 200-inch deer. Legit 200-inch deer on 10 acres. And he was going to plant a food plot. And anyway, got him hooked up. And dude, I'm stoked. So that was really kind of one of these deals where it's like, this kid has 10 acres and he's doing something right.
So it wasn't just a random
myself. I was like, dude, I want to be like you.
Yeah. So it wasn't just a random buck that just happened to be passing through. Do you think he knew that buck was there?
No, he had him patterned.
Yeah, he
totally patterned. No, for a 10, 11-year-old kid, I was like, you are my hero. You are my hero.
He's ruined. But maybe not.
Sky's the limit. Yeah. Sky's the limit. Yeah. So I'm not going to say that there's any perfect acreage. The more you can add, the more obviously you get to gain control of options and opportunities. The Building Whitetail series is built around 80 acres. It's not convenient in regards to geographical layout. So, you just got to have to work with what you're given. You really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff, man. All right, next question. Do you spend a lot of time shed hunting, and what are your tips?
I do spend a lot of time shed hunting. I spend 10 times more time shed hunting than I do actually deer hunting. I'm probably more passionate about shed hunting than I am actually deer hunting.
Oh, wow.
And that's changed over the years. I used to spend all the time that I possibly could in the woods, and now I'm trying to spend less time in the woods, but make those times more strategic. Just because I don't have as much time as I used to. My wife and I had our first kid this last year.
Yeah.
And, as you know, it just takes your time and just, obliterates it in regards to hunting. But, it's totally cool. I love being a dad. I've taken Wes, my son, last week. I took him 6 out of my 7 shed hunts back in Kansas. And he hung in there with me. He's 10 and a half months old. He got scratches on his legs from crawling through brush, and I felt like I was being a terrible parent at some point, but he had a ball. So that was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. And I'm right there with you on that. I'm getting ready. You know, you drop a little later here in Texas, so I'm getting ready, hopefully the next few weekends, to get out there and see if anything's dropped on my lease.
Yeah.
And my little Sophia, she's 5 now, and Autumn, she's 3. So they're at that age where they're like, they want to come do everything with dad. So hopefully I can get them out there and looking for some sheds as well. But
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
stuff. We had a special question from somebody, I won't name his name. How many acres do you farm?
Dusty.
Yeah,
It's gotta be
Dusty.
enough to keep me busy.
We'll keep it at that. Good answer. Oh, here's a good question. So when looking at mineral supplements, what key ingredients do you look for?
I will answer that with what I don't look for.
Okay.
I don't want to see salt. Like when I say I don't want to see a high salt content. I want to see a balanced ratio of, I want to see a list of macro minerals and micro minerals on a label. I think the outdoor industry has done a really good job in the last couple of years of separating out the wheat from the chaff, I guess, to use a farmer's term. I don't, these, mineral that has high salt content and is just labeled as an attractant, I think that's getting moved out of the industry, and products that have more quality and herd health tied into it, those are really becoming a very, very, I guess, a bright spot. And I'm really encouraged by that because, we're getting back into herd health instead of, I would rather have, I don't want 1,000 pictures of a buck on my camera just sitting there at a mineral site, because that means he's spending too much time in one spot to get the nutrients that he needs.
What is there any specific products that you're using that you might maybe want to mention?
There are products, but I'm not going to mention them. I'm testing 1, 2, 3.
Cool.
3. I'm testing 3 different companies right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a question here from the comment section. We had BRP Hunting asked, how often do you check your cameras if you don't have a cellular camera? And obviously you're running both, I believe. So.
Yep. Let's see. Man, it's different for every spot.
Maybe bring us through some scenarios.
Yeah, so I've got one. I've got a camera in a pasture where I've got cattle year-round, and I check that camera more often than a spot that's close to an area I don't go very often, just because I'm in there more. Driving a feed truck around or a tractor. If I can drive a tractor in to check a trail camera, I'll always drive a tractor in to check a trail camera, just because they associate that with agriculture, farming. They're a tractor and a combine, things of that nature aren't a threat to wildlife. The last thing I want to do is scare a deer when I'm coming in. So if I need to go check a trail camera, this is kind of a little rabbit trail. I don't want to just, burst in there. I try to make my presence known coming in. And I'm not the one that came up with that idea. I learned that from somebody else. I guess it's different for everywhere. I just recommend don't get too excited to go check your cameras, because I've seen it. I was guilty of this when I was, much younger. I'd go in and check a camera every 3 days, so excited to get a new picture of a new buck, and all I was doing was scaring him out with my intrusion. So I guess for just a basic rule of thumb, I'd leave it alone for minimum of 10 days with a non-cellular camera. Minimum.
Yeah, that sounds good. And kind of to play off that question, what are some specific areas that you would typically recommend for hanging cameras, especially like if you're not gonna want to go in during the season, or maybe are you putting cameras near your spots that you're hunting actually, so you can check them when you go in to hunt, or are you putting them in different areas where you might catch another buck or something that's cruising through?
Sure. So someone just asked, when do you start running your mineral sites? And I'll add that into your question.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
Mineral sites are a big one. Now, they're not legal in all states. In Kansas they are, so I utilize that to the best of my abilities. And oftentimes I'll run a non-cellular camera on a mineral site, just because I'm looking for inventory throughout the summer. I'm not necessarily in a hunting scenario. I don't hunt over mineral sites. The deer aren't on mineral sites, very much during the hunting season. It's more primarily during the summer months. But the question, when do you put mineral sites, when do you start running your mineral sites? Right now. Absolutely right now. I actually run it 365 days a year, but you want to, as soon, I tell guys, if you're not on a 365 pattern yet, you should put it out as soon as the grass starts to green up. Bucks have shed their antlers. They're starting to pack on a massive amount of they're about to expend a massive amount of energy in horn growth. And sometime I need to do a study for building whitetails on horn development. I think that'd be a cool topic.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I've met some people out there that know, more than I'll ever know. And I've had some amazing conversations. So, just rack development takes so much nutrients. So that's mineral sites, trail convergences, field driveways. I'm going to look for spots where I'm gonna key a lot of it around access. If I can put a cell cam into an area, with a solar panel or something of that nature, maybe an external battery, I'm gonna do that in my areas where I'm gonna try to keep my pressure out of the most possible. So I guess those are some top ones. Food plots are obviously great. Rubs, scrapes, rubs and scrapes. The end of September, definitely October. And then in November, they're going to start tapering off because bucks are going to be worried about, rutting with chasing does and necessarily marking territory. Not that they won't hit it, but end of September, October is that key time.
Cool. Looks like we got a few more questions here in the comments. Riker, I believe is his name, said, what seeds do you plant in your kill plots? And then you could kind of play off that. He also asked, what's your best food plot mix? So kind of same thing.
Right. Green plot if on warm days, grain plot on cold days in the fall. So I shot goalpost in a green plot. He came through grain though. So I don't hunt over just a green or just a grain if I can help it. I try to have green and grain in one area. I want a good mix that has cereal grains and the brassicas as well. Clover is also a great one to hunt over. There's some good brands out there. Just look for quality when you're looking at the seed tag. Look for good germination rates. That's a key one.
Cool. I got a few more questions here. Let me jump in. This is a cool question. What do you love most about being a whitetail hunter? This could go on for a while.
Learning, yeah. I love, I guess, so I try to keep myself in a mental state of being a student. I guess being more, I'm in front of a camera more now, so I'm trying to stay in a mental state of not being a professional, but more as a student that just talks about what he's learned from his experiences, whether it's successes, whether it's failures. I am constantly learning. That's the whole thing. If you're not learning, you're in a bad spot. You need to always be progressing. You need to be trying new things. Even if you're not sure it'll work, try it. You never know. It might not. Worst case scenario, it doesn't. We try something different.
Yeah.
So I love that learning aspect.
Yeah. Right there with you on that, man. 100%. Let's take a few more here from the comments. Let's see here. Is moon phase a factor to kill a mature buck?
No. No.
Expand on that for us.
Yeah. So
you see a lot of that now, a lot of these articles and stuff like kill a big buck on the red moon or whatever,
Yes. So I'm not going to bash the red moon, the moon phase deal. Does moon phase affect deer activity? I think in some extent, yes, but deer are still going to move. I'm sorry, when a buck is at peak rut, do you really think a moon's going to keep him from going out and looking for chicks? No, I'm sorry. If a deer is hungry because of a weather front, he's going to go eat. Now, he may not eat in the spot that you think he's going to eat, but he's going to eat. I mean, we overcomplicate this thing. I've shot some of my biggest deer on a full moon scenario just because, I mean, it boils down to hunting the does. Do you see doe activity affected by the moon phase? No one talks about that. They talk about bucks in the moon.
Yeah.
No one talks about does in the moon. Well, I'm hunting the does during that rut activity because that's where the dudes are going to be. I mean, it's basic anatomy that's been there since the beginning of time. You know, we think that we're morphing and changing the way these animals work, and we're not. We need to keep it simple and hone in on the simple side of things.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm going to take a question here from our pro staff. Actually had a few questions for you.
Okay.
Brian had one here. He said, I have 12 acres that are centrally located in a big block. It is a major funnel, and deer travel it all year. I put in a 110-gallon water tank last year, and the deer love it. Is it worth hinge cutting some trees when there is bedding all around my property?
Wow, that's a tough question. That's a tough question without seeing an aerial map of how the property around it lays. If this is something that you want to keep as a travel corridor, I would say no on regard to hinge cutting. If this is something that you're wanting to keep, I mean, it sounds like they're bedding elsewhere, bedding around and traveling through you to get to other bedding areas or food sources. So my first, I guess, I'm going to go with no without seeing an area map. I mean, obviously, if you want to improve, if you want to add bedding to 12 acres, you know, you've got a little room to do that, and you sure as well can.
Cool. Let's see here. Let's ask another question here from the comments. At what time of the year do you swap off of corn to a more solid protein blend?
I assume they mean like feeding program.
I don't know. That's a good question.
So I feed a concentrated feed in my feed blend that's got protein in it year round. I just, you think about it, people put so much focus on the fall. I mean, bucks are running in fall. They're at their peak physical state, you know, during the fall. Does are fattened up. They're ready for winter. The fawns are starting to get weaned off the does. So I'm looking at that feed program more in the winter and the spring when bucks are adding, you know, trying to recover from winter, trying to hold deer through the winter. And then this also feed and mineral spring and summer during, you know, the fawning time, during does are lactating, nursing the fawns. Bucks are packing on the inches of antler. That's, I mean, a key habitat program is going to be 365 days a year, not just, you know, your fall months.
Right on. See, I have another one here, another good question. What percentage of bucks on your hit list every year are taken by neighbors? And how do you try to avoid it? You were kind of talking about, you know, one of your hit listers got taken by a neighbor. So
yeah, that's a really, really good question. So if a neighbor is a good outdoorsman and is respectful of the game, the pursuit, and the animal and other people, I'll be the first one to congratulate him on harvesting a deer. You'll notice this. I'm big about mental game. Because it's so important in so many aspects of life, whether it's, you know, deer hunting, marriage, being a parent, friends, business, whatever it might be. So, you know, I see just how people are in life spills right over into their deer hunting activity, and how they are as outdoorsmen. If they're a crappy person in society, they're going to be a crappy deer hunter. You know, so. I guess that's not really answering the question. But I would say maybe, and it's different every year, I would say maybe For 30%, and it depends on where the farms are at. I have more than one farm. Someone asked, do I own all the ground that I hunt on?
Yeah.
No, the answer is no. I'm in agriculture, so I work with land. You know, that's my job. I do own some of the, you know, land that I hunt on. I own the Building Whitetails property that's being based around, but I'm gonna throw 30% out there, maybe 40%. You know, and honestly, if a respectful neighbor harvests a good deer, more power to them. You know, this is a sport to be enjoyed by all, and you know, I just hope that the honorable human beings harvest the biggest deer.
Yeah.
But what am I doing to influence?
Doesn't always
that?
happen, but
Yeah, and I've got you know, some people that I just don't get along with. I'm always trying to, and I think everyone has that somebody, that neighbor they don't get along with. I think we should always be striving to do our best to get along with everyone that we can. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. I'm always improving my properties, and everyone has the opportunity to improve their property. Just so few people do. So people get mad because, you know, a deer's in my food plot when they did nothing to improve their property. You know, it's like, guys, you can't expect to gain if you don't put anything into it.
Exactly. To kind of play off that question, do you have any special protocol you like to follow? Like when you have a new neighbor or with your neighbors, like, do you greet them? Do you I mean, is there anything that you do specifically with neighbors to kind of keep a good communication and good, you know, relationship with them?
Yeah. So, I guess a few are popping into my mind. Quite a few of my neighbors I actually farm for. So a lot of this ground I'm working with in the agricultural side of things, but I don't hunt it, which is a unique scenario, very unique scenario. So I guess I try to promote as much communication as possible. I've got one area where I have some outstanding neighbors. I'm really, really blessed with that. I'm super thankful for it, because I know that can change at just, you know, flip of a land sale. I try to keep communication as high as possible. And if you just show genuine respect for your fellow outdoorsman, it's going to go so much further than you can possibly imagine. And just everyone working together, that QDMA, quality deer management, of just everyone getting an equal opportunity to enjoy the outdoors.
I know one of the things that we did a lot growing up that my dad always tried to do is we had several neighbors that we hunted by that didn't hunt at all. And, you know, they just like to leave their land the way it was. They wouldn't even let people hunt on it even sometimes. But if they did let us hunt on it, or they were our neighboring property, we'd try to always say, hey, here's some venison from the year before. Would you guys like some? You know, and they always loved that. So that was another thing that we always tried to do.
Yeah.
Let's take a few more. We're butting up on time here already, but let's take a couple more questions. Dylan had one here. Does access to water affect your food plot and feeding decisions?
Does access to water?
So like how close water, like maybe a pond or a tank might be to where.
Right. Yeah. Not really, because I guess I've seen firsthand how little water deer actually need, at least in my area. I mean, water holes aren't a big thing around me. Now, if you're in areas where and I have a lot of water. There's a lot of creek bottoms, river bottoms, ponds, watersheds. So water's not something that's a big, I guess, there's not a shortage of it where I'm at, but not really. That's a really, I'm kind of stumbling through here because I'm trying to think through this question, and that's a really good question.
It's a deep question, I think, honestly.
It is deep.
Yeah.
It's different for everyone. I guess you'd have to do a case by case, looking at your own property. Yeah, I mean, water's
and where you are too. You know, you might be in the Midwest, you might be down south.
Right. I would almost morph it around. This is kind of throwing a wild card out, but your access. How does your access to how can you use water, however it might be, to help you in regards to your food plots, in regards to access? Because access is absolutely everything. If you can't get in and out without disrupting deer, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So I would look at water and you're planning your food plots. Man, I'm sorry. This is just a tough one. Kind of,
It's a good
I guess,
question.
overall picture. Yeah, you need water, you need food. Try to get the two of them to work together in your favor as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Let's take one more here. Ripstick had a fun question. How confident would you be hunting public land mountain bucks in comparison to doing the land management on private land? He said, would your standards for harvest drop? And he says it does sound good and fun to manage deer herds on private land.
Yeah. Mountain deer. So I've driven through Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, and Wisconsin within the last week, and seen a lot of this mountainous region. And dude, I have a ton of respect for the mountain hunters. Wow. I mean, I can't imagine how they have to be in tune with thermals. And that's just, it keeps rolling through my mind, is the heat and the cooling, the rising and falling of scent thermals. I'm not confident going out and hunting deer. I have no experience in it. Mm-hmm. Would I like to experience it someday? Sure. I'll try anything once. So.
All right, everybody, send your invites to Josh and let him come out and try it. Show him your spots. I'm definitely more confident in managing whitetails, I guess, in my region, because I know it. I grew up there. Yes, mule deer in Colorado. Yeah, I'd be cool with that. Would my standards drop? No, in regards to mature deer. I guess a mature deer is a mature deer. So
mature deer is a mature deer. Yeah. I mean, too much emphasis is put on size of antlers and not enough on age class of whitetails. Maturity is so key. If mountain hunters that shoot mature deer, my hat is off to you. You guys, that is a whole new world of which I don't have experience hunting in. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll finish it at that tonight, Josh. This was awesome, man. I really appreciated your time, and I had a ton of comments here that people were very thankful for answering questions and stuff.
We didn't get to all of them, guys. If
we'll be back.
Hit me up on Instagram, j.pretzer.9. I love conversation about hunting in the outdoors. So if you got any questions, hit me up. I'd be happy to dive into conversation. Thanks for all your support and your feedback, and keep it coming. And thanks to everybody at the SPYPOINT team for facilitating this.
And we'll be back next month. Probably midway through next month, we'll do this again. We'll have it lined up again. And if again, like Josh said, if you really like this, we would really appreciate it if you shared it, like it. I mean, those are easy things that you can do. Just share and like, tell your friends about it. Make sure you go over to YouTube, subscribe, leave some comments. We got to get more interaction and engagement on these, man. I know people are watching it and enjoying it, but I'd love to see more of the engagement and see the community really kind of take hold of this. So that's a big part of why we're doing this. We want to bring Josh to the community more, and he's putting a lot of hard work and time in, and all of us are putting some hard work and time in. So it's fun to actually engage with the community and make them part of this too. So thanks again, Josh. We'll be back next month.
Sounds great.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.